Hello,
Hey, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, great. I'm going to be walking you through our laboratory information system, and I'll try to be fairly fast in going over it.
Okay.
All right. So allow me to just start the application. All right. So I have the application on the screen. Can you see it?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, fantastic. So this application actually comes in two options. It can be deployed on premises, that is on your own server, or it can be web-based. Yeah, depending on your preferences, it's essentially the same system, but what you choose will probably depend on your circumstances. I guess the decision is centered around whether you have a server or not. This one, because it's a desktop application, it requires you to actually commit to an actual server that you keep running pretty much 24 hours and take care of things like regular backups, so that you protect your data. Whereas the hosted solution, which is web-based, we are the ones who provide the infrastructure and the server, and we take care of the regular backup, so you don't have to worry about that. You just need an internet connection. Even with the desktop application, you still need an internet connection because it allows you to synchronize your results with your web portal, and also to remote present your lab results to the requesting doctors and clinicians. So,
Okay.
so I intend for this to be a fairly brief overview, so maybe 20 to 30 minutes, at least, right, at least enough for us to generate questions for a more detailed presentation, but I'll try and cover the essentials. All right, so this is the dashboard, which is the landing page, which gives you the main options to add patients and other features, other main features of the system.
Okay.
I'll start with adding a new patient, which allows you to obviously add a patient. For experience, I'm actually going to actually search for an existing patient, so that I don't have to type all the detailed demographics. All right, so what I've done is I've just put an existing patient record. So on this, I'm just going to make a small change. So now, I'll create a new request so that we start from there, which corresponds to the lab request that you get from your doctors. So so up here, this is the patient file, which basically doesn't change, and below here is a request which represents an individual encounter.
Okay.
And here on the left are different modules, from general data to notes to the lab tests, which we'll obviously cover in detail, to any procedures, billing, data and claims management, and audit trail. So I'm just giving you this overview so that you understand that this system is actually designed to take care of an entire hospital with all the different points of care that a patient can pass through in one encounter. So I'll go straight into the lab module that we're interested in. I will pick a requesting doctor for our demonstration. So automatically it has populated the collection date for the sample, but you can then be more specific in terms of what time it was actually collected. And it allows you to indicate more than one requesting provider. For example, where you have one patient being managed by perhaps a physician and a specialist, both would want to receive the results for that, for tests performed on specimens from that specific patient. So here it has automatically generated the lab reference number based on the year, the month, and the day, and then a sequence number.
Okay.
But you have options to define the automatic generation of the lab reference number depending on what you want for your lab.
Okay.
And on remark, you can put what you want. It could be perhaps details like the ward or the bed where this particular patient is admitted, or anything that could be useful. Maybe, for example, this could be ward and this could be bed number. On the remark, you can add something else. And then, of course, you might want to, or you would want to actually indicate the diagnosis, which you can actually do by selecting an ICD-10 code here. I'll just pick something fairly simple. So the system already has a whole ICD-10 library preloaded into it. So now I'm going to add the requested tests. The system already has over than 115 standard test profiles, which are already listed up here in the different departments, from your immunochemistry, biochem, chemistry, just about all the testing departments that we standardly have in laboratories. So I'm going to pick a cross section for our illustration. I'll pick something from microbiology. I'll pick full blood count.
Pick LFT. I want to see what happens.
Definitely LFT, yes. I'll also pick an HIV test. Let me also include UNE. Then I'm going to add this. I also add a few more. I'll add a COVID test, PCR. Okay. Is there anything else you feel we can use for illustration right away?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
So let's go deeper next time.
Yes, absolutely. So the system already assumes that this is the type of specimen that was used for each test, although it may be different, but usually, for example, for full blood count, the specimen would be blood. But this can be changed by double clicking and then specifying that was a different specimen that was actually used.
Okay.
So at this point, we would expect that the next step would be to actually run the sample. It could also include a printing of a barcode, which is a module that can also be included. So let's assume that tests have been run and the results are ready. So we're now going to manually capture the results, although it is possible to integrate or interface the system with your testing instrument so that the results, as soon as they come out, they're automatically populated into the system. However, for illustration, because I don't have actual lab instruments here, I will just show you how to manually enter the results. So as you can see, the tests that we selected are already grouped under the department. Like here it's hematology, chemistry, microbiology, serology. So I'll just start with one of the more common ones, full blood count. And the parameters are already there. The reference ranges, even though they are preloaded in the system, part of the setup steps when we deploy the system to your lab is to actually configure the reference ranges and units which you actually use in your lab.
Okay.
Of course, it allows you to define any units and any reference ranges. These, of course, are fairly reasonable, as they are typically what's used in the labs in your region. But
Okay.
of course, there would be differences because of selection of things like units. So I'll just quickly enter results here so that it will be possible for me to illustrate.
Okay.
All right. So it immediately flags if something is out of range. So as you can see, it automatically calculated the ratios. So you don't have to actually manually calculate those ones. You notice that here on the right, there's a little graph icon here. So this is basically automatically graphing the results that have been captured in previous tests. Say, for example, you're regularly testing a specific patient and you're monitoring a specific condition. So the system would actually make a graph of what a particular parameter's values have been across the different tests. So you can see already here, because this is a patient that I've been using for demonstration, there are different values from the past. And of course, you can print this graph. This, of course, becomes very valuable when you give it to your client, your clinician, because it enables them to visualize the changes going on in their patient. And you can do that for all quantitative parameters on any test profile. This is by default within the system. So at this point, I am going to authorize this particular test so that we will be able to preview the results. So here's a preview of the results ready for printing. And it is already highlighted up here that an electronic copy has been sent. And an electronic copy means that basically the requesting doctor just got an electronic copy of this result, which they can view through our web platform, and can also be sent as an email, which is an option down here. And you can send to the doctor or to the patient. And you can also, this is a QR code, which can immediately be scanned to get a validation of this specific result online. In fact, this platform is already used for validation of results worldwide, particularly with the COVID tests at airports and other points of entry. So this is a fully functioning system that's already been used for about a decade now, about 10 years.
So all results, once authorized, the QR code will be generated?
Automatically, yes.
And so once authorized, it automatically sends to the doctor that particular one, which is authorized only?
Yes, no, not the whole request, but yeah, the one that are authorized, yes.
Okay.
So then you would see that there's automatic comments that have been inserted here at the bottom. So the system is some decision support system which is integrated, where it automatically detects certain conditions and automatically inserts the comments. For example, here it is detected mild neutrophilia, mild basophilia, mild monocytosis, normocytic, hypochromatic red cell picture, platelets are adequate. These are automatically inserted based on a basic artificial intelligence system, which you can actually configure within your lab as well. So that's for full blood count. Then I'm going to just illustrate other departments so that you get a cross-sectional appreciation of the system. I'll just go to bacteriology, since it's quite different in terms of the nature of its results. So this is urine microchem and sensitivity. I'll just quickly enter results.
Let's say on the schistosoma, if you were to say observed, what comes after that?
Say observed, see comment. So then you add the details here.
Okay.
Say, for example, you say findings, then you add what the details are.
Okay.
So I'll just quickly enter some dummy results here. But these are all parameters that you can customize for your lab, although these are fairly standard, but part of the configuration process of setting up the system is actually to go over a validation of all these for your particular lab.
Okay.
All right, so now these are the parameters, and then we'll go to the cultures. So the different outcomes that can occur in terms of cultures. So let's suppose maybe no culture done or no growth obtained, no significant growth or growth obtained, all these things. So for example, let's just say there was pathogens isolated. So just give me an example here, what it could be.
E. coli.
Okay. And by the way, it allows you to have multiple organisms that could have been obtained there.
Okay.
So we've added that. And by the way, you can actually also pick from pre-existing comments as well, which you also can add and remove or edit as you like from time to time. So having done that, we then do sensitivity. So let's suppose these are the only drugs that you did sensitivity testing for. It's got a set, but this set also, again, you define what the drugs you normally test sensitivity for are. Then say, for example, if there was a stain, then you can indicate what type of stain it was and what the findings were. And it also picks from fairly or rather routinely used text for you to autocomplete and indicate the polarity and the quantity. And you can have multiple entries for these. You can have another one and keep going. There's no limit actually how many entries you can have here. And cultures, yes, can also have multiple. You can keep adding more organisms. And then on free comments, you can also add more. You can just keep typing more and more comments. And there can be different categories, whether it's a culture or comment findings, or maybe a specific day, whatever it is that you want to add. And it also keeps an audit trail of who are the users who made different changes. In this case, it's just myself. So I'm the one that entered every one of the parameters. If they were different, then yeah, if they were
list everybody.
Exactly. Everyone
is according to who is logged in, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And of course, we do not want users sharing access credentials, because that defeats the whole idea of logging in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. So that's your urine MCS. That's your bacteriology. I'm going to go to LFTs. So I'll just put some results. So it automatically calculated the globulin here based on the presence. Yes, that's right. All right, so that's that. And then I also illustrate urea electrolytes. These are quantitative. I mean, there isn't much of a difference in terms of the other tests we already illustrated, since they are all, it's really just values that you're entering here. But again, we would expect that you don't have to enter this manually, because the equipment will be interfaced.
Okay.
So it is automatically calculated the onion gap there. All right. So that's actually a very fast overview of the system. You've already seen out under the results, comments, cultures, the audit aspects, viewing of results. That's the essence of.
Before we move on, let's say we realize that we have not picked a particular test. Let's say here I can see EGFR is not calculating, probably because we don't have creatinine. Are we able to go back and add that?
Yes, you can actually manually do it.
No, I mean to add the test like creatinine, which is agree we did urea and electrolyte. We didn't do creatinine. Let's say we realized we had to do creatinine for this particular patient. Can we go to this particular encounter and add that?
Yes, you can just go back to test requests and then add. You can add whatever is missing there, the same way. Then let me also quickly show you how you can also adjust or set these profiles to represent exactly how your lab is operating. So when you come here to lab test panels or LIS settings, it actually allows you to go through all the profiles and define the parameters for each and what the units are, which is the essence then. Yes. So let me just go to, for example, to full blood count. So there are all the parameters, and then you can actually even change even the text up here. You can change it. You can change even whether it's supposed to be text or it's supposed to be a drop down, or it's a number or it's a formula result. Of course, you can change and set the units. And then reference values, you can also define them here for male, female, and generic ones. And you can specify whether the the age, because you can have different ranges for different age groups. You can indicate whether this age is being set in years or in days, as you would for PIDs, for example. You'd want to to indicate the reference values for for every few weeks or even days. And then under artificial intelligence, that's where you actually define how the system is supposed to identify the presence of a specific phenomenon or observation. This is where it's actually defined, and you can actually adjust this, even though it comes pre-configured with the system. You can actually add your own based on your observations on or your general practice. This is where you can download your knowledge and expertise and make the system automate what you already do regularly.
Okay.
Questions?
Okay. Here, yeah, I think we were on the adding the test, adding the patient, which is pretty much general, yes.
Yes.
Very, very good, very good. It looks so. Yes, there were those small graphs which will show the previous results.
Mm-hmm.
So as we send the current results, let's say this full blood count result, does it also have a list of the previous results, not in a graphical manner, but for example, if WBC last time was 6, will it also show them on the electronic or the printed copy?
It's possible, although usually in the standard, we just show this specific request. This can be sent separately. As you can see here, you can actually print this as well separately, or even electronically send this one as well. But it can be made one comprehensive report if you want it to be.
Okay. Yes, the graph is, because so the graph can be sent separately. But,
or it can be an attachment. Yes.
Okay, such that someone will receive a full blood count results with the current results plus the graphs showing how the changes in the RBC and WBCs were, for example.
That is correct.
So how many, does it only show the immediate previous one, or how many previous ones does it show?
As many as this is actually governed more by the screen size, okay. But yeah, because the system doesn't have an actual limit in terms of how many it can capture. However, in terms of the screen, the space or printout, that actually has a bit of a limit because of the width. That becomes a physical restriction, but you would actually have already shown the last about 200 tests or so.
Okay. Yeah, because definitely the previous result is important, and someone would want to see it. Okay, then now I've seen a bit much. Let's go to the billing aspect of it.
All right. So on the billing, you go to billing, and then the system, as you can see, it already generated the bill for this particular patient because it already knows, it's already configured to associate a test with a specific billing code and the fees. However, obviously, from lab to lab, the pricing will be different. And the codes can be different as well. Now, these codes can be based on your internal billing structure or medical insurance or medical aid codes. Both are accommodated as you prefer.
Show me an illustration of this particular invoice, like the way, let's say it's going to be printed. How does it appear?
Okay. So I haven't defined the template for this. Otherwise, the codes will be appearing in detail down here. But in my demonstration, I would have to actually properly configure to show when it prints, Yeah, when it prints out, it actually be showing the actual date and the description, code, and quantity. But this is how it would be looking. But as you can see, this is a demonstration hospital. But when deployed, it would now be showing the actuals for you.
Okay. Why I'm asking is because the way medical aids operates is probably different from country to country.
Yes.
So
yes.
If we are going to see, why I asked you, no, please select LFTs. I want to see what happens. On our end here, when we are claiming, let's say, for UEC and creatinine or LFT, it's not claimed as a group. Each and every test that is in that liver function test is claimed as an individual test with its own ICD-10 code.
Yes. In fact, the system is built on that assumption, actually, because that's probably how it is in many regions. So,
okay, fantastic.
So let me just show you where you, as a lab, define these things. So when you go to LIMS menu and go to lab tests and results, you find that at the bottom here, it allows you to actually define what the codes are on that particular test you've selected down here. So you can have multiple codes to represent the different billing components on that profile.
Okay, this one is for, let's say, for full blood count. It's okay.
Yes.
So let's liver function test.
Okay. So this one is 2 codes. Yeah. But okay, but more important, let me show you how you would then put what you want. Just by clicking plus, then you can actually add another code here.
Code.
Right.
Okay.
In fact, give me a code that would be used here for billing.
Let's say for total bilirubin. Let's say our code is 1234. Don't ignore it off it.
Okay. So there you go. So that means that every time because this configuration exercise is a once-off exercise when you're setting up the system or when major changes happen. Once you've done that, then for each request, the system already knows automatically to insert those codes as part of the bill. So you don't have to manually build that request.
Meaning that the moment we select LFTs on the bill, it will show all the tests that are involved with the liver function test, right?
Yes, in the bill, yes, that's correct.
It will show them one by one.
Yes, they'll be broken down. Okay.
And then if, for example, we ended up not generating a result for total bilirubin under LFTs, are we able to remove it, extract it from the bill to remove it? Because we don't want to bill it. We didn't end up actually running that. Maybe the sample was immobilized, for example.
Yes, basically, like, let me illustrate that. You select a line and then you can just remove that line.
No, okay. Here, let's say we have liver function test, right? We don't want to remove the whole of the liver function test, but we want to remove some of the tests in the liver function test.
Yeah, I'm saying that, like what I illustrated was I removed just one line, of which there are multiple lines per test already. Multiple billing lines per test because of the billing components. And what I illustrated that is the fact that you can remove an individual line.
Okay. All right. You remember when we were on that page with the liver function test, and then it showed us total bilirubin, direct bilirubin, GGT, what. There were many, but all of those are under liver function test. And the bill is going to show us all of those. Usually we have basic 8 of them, one by one, with their different ICD-10, with their different tariff codes, right? Then we realized that, yes, we had selected liver function tests when we were adding the tests, which means it will automatically have billed for all that. Or does it bill after we put the result, or it bills when we select?
It bills when you authorize, which is after I've put in the results.
So if we don't put the result for total bilirubin, then it will not build that total bilirubin. That's what you're saying.
Not necessarily. This is now a lab specific configuration. You actually configure the system as to how you want to do it. By default, it would have that definition of tariff codes or billing codes attached to the profile. If you want it to then also lock in the individual billing codes to the individual tests in the profile, then we also can make that setting as well.
Because I'm looking at a scenario where I have ordered, I have requested for liver function tests, and then 1 or 2 parameters, like I gave an example that the bilirubin, the sample was hemolyzed, but the person who did the request is probably the front office staff who is not really well versed with which sample is adequate for processing or not, but they are probably just using the forms. Perfect. Then by the time the sample gets into the lab, they realize that it's too hemolyzed for them to do the bilirubins. Then they don't do the bilirubins and they don't generate results for that. They do the other things. But the invoice now generated from this will have the bilirubins, but we don't want to bill them because we're going to request a re-sample collection where we are going to request for total bilirubin and direct bilirubin only. So this bill that has gone out today, we want to remove total bilirubin and direct bilirubin. Is that possible?
Yes, it is. Because firstly, on the results, you're not obliged to actually fill in every single line here. Okay. And then in terms of the actual billing, even if it had inserted the line, you can remove one line from the whole bill. And we can also configure it so that when it automatically generates the bill, it skips anything that's not that does not have a value or a result value filled in for it. Okay. So
okay, I hear you. Okay. And then let's not go too much into detail with this one. Maybe when we do a trial run, then we can be seeing the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
Then the other thing, the EDI claims, are you able to do it from?
So here it says processing. This is actually for EDI purposes, because when you click submit this claim, it actually submits to the funder immediately. That is assuming, of course, that the funder has a system that that caters for EDI, but the system itself, our LIS, is built around EDI.
Okay. Normally, we would submit them in batches, like not as individuals though, but still it's okay. But we usually do them in batches, like once we know that we've completed all these tests, all these patients, and then we now go and now submit the claims in a small batch. So will it generate for us like a summary? Okay, go ahead, submit batch.
Yes, so here it actually says submit batch, and this is meant to cater for the scenario you just described, which is based on batches as opposed to individual claims. So yes, it actually caters for that. In fact, you just select your batch from this list on the right and then upload it. That's what actually happens from this list here.
And it gives us a summary of what has been submitted, right?
Yes, there's actually a whole portal that takes care of EDI functions. Maybe I can just, yeah. There's actually an entire portal that takes care of EDI related reporting and keeping track of the traffic on EDI. Okay,
they go as what, as XML files?
This format is defined by the funder, by the receiving system. It's usually it's usually XML, yes, but some funders actually have different formats which are really unique to them. But the standard, yes, it's usually XML. Some have JSON.
Okay. Then the next question. Okay, we said EDI. Yes, we do. The next question is, for example, I have a main lab, let's say in Blawayo, and then I have another one in Harare. I have another one quickly.
Mhm.
I want these to be linked such that if a sample is registered in Harare or in Lowe or anyway, the database is kept the same. They're all kept under the same database. Not that Harare has got their own, Kwekwe their own, Lowe their own. Is it possible to connect this?
Yes, and there are many ways to do that, depending on your infrastructure choices or preferences, or what you already have in terms of your network service provider. You can, if you want, you can provide your own centralized server and wide area network, or we can provide the infrastructure using the hosted solution. Yeah, you actually have choices within what we already have to accomplish exactly that.
Then also, not only are they fully fledged labs in these centers, then we also have at Dr. ABC's clinic, I have the phlebotomist or staff working there. I would want them to be able to also register the patient and tell the patient, okay, your co-payment due is this much, and be able to print an invoice for them. We will be able to have a smaller system that we put in this, because these ones are not running samples. They're not going to input results. They don't need everything, but they want to be able to register the patient and do the invoice.
Right. So that's under the category of user permissions. That's basically having a user who has got restricted permissions, which we already take care of very well, and user groups and permissions. Yeah, so the different user groups. So that one would be a limited kind of user who can only do specific functions.
Is there a limit to the number of users that we can have?
There's no limit. Technically speaking, you could say there's a limit, but the limit is over 1 billion. So there's no limit.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm actually having a challenge with that kind, because my people who are at small centers are not able to do invoices for the client once the client is there, because I want the client to be able to know how much they're supposed to pay, and then their invoice can be printed. So okay, fine, medical aid is going to cover, let's say 55 pula, then you owe us 5 pula. Then they can see that there and then. That's one challenge.
Okay, so that challenge is sort of made inapplicable to our framework, because we build the whole platform on the assumption of a collaborative atmosphere where you have clinicians in different countries and even continents collaborating on clinical cases. So you'd have a doctor in India, in California, in Botswana, in Kenya, sharing notes and looking at the same case history of a patient. That's the kind of scenario we build the system around. So yes, so I think that that scenario would be well catered for.
Okay. And then, okay, we're just doing more of a summary, right? We are not getting too much into detail.
Okay.
Then the other thing would be on its accounting side. Okay, so we are talking of a scenario where I have billed the patient is there. I told them they owe me 5 pula. They pay that 5 pula. Can I record that payment onto the platform?
Yes.
So that I know this patient doesn't owe me anything.
Yes, so you actually can receipt the patient in the system. This is the receipting, and even print the receipts as well.
Okay. And if they owe me, let's say today they come, they say they don't have money, they'll come tomorrow. Then tomorrow when they come through, for some reason, they manage to sneak through to the doctor and get their results without paying. So can I blacklist them so that next time when they come and I try to register them, the system will tell me that, no, this patient did not pay us last time.
Okay, so you see this red block next to where it says membership number here, where my mouse pointer is moving.
Seconds.
That's actually a result of that. It is already detected that this person is already owing from the past. And if you want a statement, it can actually then give you a statement.
Okay.
And even produce things like warning letters or demand letters. All these things are already built into the system, or sending of SMSs. Yes, it takes care of a typical billing / accounting scenarios as well. And you can also view a statement of the patient's history as well.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's all right. Then does it also show me doctor statistics? Like I want to know how many samples I got from Dr. ABC this month, the last 2 months, the whole year, things like that.
Right, so here it says analysis by requesting doctor or clinic. So you run this report and it gives you a breakdown, practice number and practitioner number of requests. And you can filter this by dates, or even by things like who the funder was, or which of your branches they came to, or which gender the patients were.
Okay. Will it be able to show me how much money we were expecting from, let's say, a particular doctor? Just an overview to say, okay, fine, we have doctors who are here. We had 1 request this month, let's say. Is there a total? Can it fish that total?
Right. So what you then do is by pulling out this report here, you're then able to select the specific referring doctor, and then get a breakdown of that specific of traffic coming from that specific doctor, like this. So this
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it can do statistics. Okay. So I can be able to filter to say, okay, fine, Dr. Nzua had this many patients, this many requests from BPOMAS patients. So we're expecting this much. It can be able to do those filtering, right?
Yes, because under funding, you also can pick the funders that you're interested in for that particular report.
Okay. These are all printable, right?
Yes, you can actually you can print this list or export it to Excel. Or send SMSs, say if you want to perhaps send us a communication to all the patients in that list, you can actually do that automatically.
Okay. Then lastly, but not least, how much is all this? How do you do your charging? How do you make your money?
So we actually send you a questionnaire, because every lab is different, every facility is different. So we send you a questionnaire that enables us to estimate the scale of your operation, and through engagements, we then establish what kind of resource commitment will be required from our end to give you fair service. And from that, then we agree on pricing. We don't have a one-size-fits-all pricing, because over time, we've learned that if you do that, you risk underserving a client because you did not anticipate their requirements and their need. So it's always, you might say, price on application, the way you do with a Bentley. Or
Okay. So if we're using the cloud-based or web-based server, then it means it will be easier for all these labs in Harare, to be able to access the database without too much infrastructure inputted, right?
Yes, that's what we normally encourage. And with power challenges, the power cuts, we find sometimes the client had insisted on their own server, but the server was hit with a power surge and they lost some data. So we actually don't really encourage having your own server unless you are willing to commit to significant resources to have a proper standard server room.
Yeah. Because right now I'm actually using a local server, and when there are power cuts, it's actually a challenge, because the other guys far away, they're 1,000 kilometers away, they can't operate. In fact, everybody can't operate when the server is down.
Right, right.
So we had to now start investing in backup power. It's been really costly, and it's a challenge. So okay, that's all right. Maybe you can send me the questionnaire, and then I'll do that. And then when we meet next, now we can now be going to the nitty-gritty to show, so that we go through the whole process of registering a patient. So that as we do that, at least I can be able to pick where I need attention or where I need answers on how it can be done, so that we know the whole process from start to finish.
That's all right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. You do have my email address, right?
I do have your email. I do.
You do.
I do.
Fantastic.